Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Nerds Drink Whiskey. This is our second week of our Redbreast deep dive. It's the first one, the 12-year. It was almost a little watery. But the bite, it had a really good bite. Not too big, not too weak. But it's not a super high quality bite, but the level of kick that it had to it was at a nice level.
That's right. Just bite down. Now bite down on it.
All the different notes, whether they were tasting notes or smelling notes, they were a little more subtle than I like. So. But you know, if you're new to whiskey or you're new to Redbreast, we do recommend you starting with last week's episode and last week's whiskey, which is the Redbreast 12, and just travel along with the whole family as we are. But this is the Redbreast 15, and I think we're gonna start with the nose, see if we can smell those notes.
I do want to note that. So last week's was a 40 proof, and this one's actually 46. So this one's not quite as watered down.
Instead of 40?
Yeah, so this one's a little less watered down than the 15-year.
Oh, this is the higher proof?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
See, that's why we have him around, is he notices things that we don't, so...
You pay attention!
Yeah, I'm still barely noticing anything on the nose.
A little bit more caramel.
That's just what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's a little more toasty.
A little, maybe a slight bit of sweetness, and that's about all I'm noticing. So
I'm noticing right off the bat, like it's much more like the caramel style, like Jeff said. Like it's got almost a little more of a creamy style nose to it than the 12-year did. But there's definitely a little more of a toasty flavor. I agree. So a toasty nose.
Well, I think out of all the, that's the one thing with whiskey. Whiskey is pretty much candy for adults. So sometimes it's a little higher quality. Sometimes you can buy the good quality candy, or sometimes you can just buy the really cheap generic candy. Redbreast is the higher quality candy for adults. So, anyways,
is this like the Willy Wonka?
Nobody's ever released a snozberry tasting whiskey, so I don't know.
Snozberries.
Anyways, Dark Helmet, do your thing.
Ludicrous speed!
Gabe, what's your thoughts?
For me, I already, despite, the obvious, as most people would think, I actually really like this stuff a lot better than last week's, besides the fact that it's a higher proof. It's got a better flavor to it. It's more like towards my palate. It's got a much more kind of a creamy style flavor than last week's. Last week's was a little bit, but I agree with you on last week's. It was kind of diluted. This has got a lot more to it. It's got a more well-rounded and robust flavor to it. The finish is very, very nice. I really like it. The only thing I would wish for in this, even though this is also a higher proof, is I wish that it had a little more like the spike on the end of my tongue for that finish. I really like that bite in my whiskey. But this,
I think those extra 3 years is what reduces the kick a little bit. That bite is a little bit more of a subtle finish. It's about the same amount of bite, but it's got a little bit more quality to it. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, I like actually, I'm really impressed with the finish on this, because you get this like nice eruption of flavor when it goes down. So it's like there's this nice kick, and there's these nice flavor notes that all erupt in there when you swallow, which...
Volcanic eruption!
I mean, I've had tons of whiskey, and this one does it, like, that's the first time I've really noticed that. Like, I've noticed it a little bit before, but this one, it's like, yeah, there's some flavors while you're tasting it, and then suddenly, pow, right in the mouth.
Yeah, it's weird. You don't usually with whiskey. The finish is not where you notice flavors, and you do notice the flavors. Kind of, there's a couple flavors that come out, just a little, that last little oomph as with the finish, and that is very rare. Now, I'm tasting a mixture of apple and pear in there. So they say fruity, but I'm saying specifically that I'm tasting some apple and pear.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's real fleshy fruits.
Yeah, and so it's I don't notice the cream as much. This isn't as creamy as much as they claim, but the finish on here is really that 3 years, that 3 extra years, and that little bit of higher proof. The bite is about the same as the 12 as far as its attack, but it's got extra elements that a little bit more of a foundation of that, a little more depth to that finish. So it's for that 3 years. That 3 years makes a huge difference. It's kind of amazing. I don't know that there's definitely an improvement with those 3 years. Any final words on this, gentlemen?
I just kind of wondered real quick, as far as between the 12 and the 15, was the 12 just in regular oak casks, or was that in sherry casks as well? Because I actually wonder with this 15, this was finished in sherry casks.
My name's Sherry, but my friends call me Cherry because of my hair.
So I'm wondering if maybe that's another reason
the
why.
15 was finished in sherry casks? Oh. Okay.
It's got sherry casks.
Oh, all right.
I was wondering if maybe that was another reason why I seem to like this so much. I've always been a real big fan of anything finished in sherry casks. It's got a really distinct flavor to it.
That could be. It's there's definitely I would say that's one of the most. It's not a real long lasting finish, but what it is that finish is very impressive. So, all right. Well, see you next week for another episode of Nerds Drink Whiskey, where we are going to be doing the 20, I think it's the 21. It's a $250 bottle of whiskey that my wife somehow let me buy. I don't know. I think she was really tired at the time or something.
She must be out of her mind, Mark, to let you buy that.
But we're going to be doing it. It's a $250 bottle. It's 21-year Redbreast. That's going to be next week. And then we still got the Lestau, and we got the 12-year cask strength. And then we're going to end this, if I can organize it and get these together. I think we might have to get together again. But we're going to try and do a blind taste test between the 12, the 15, and the 21 year, and see if we can name where they
Figure
are.
out which one's which.
Between this time and next time, I would love to try and take on that challenge. That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So, anyways, see you next week for the Redbreast 21 year.